You're at Late Lunch on LMFM radio this Monday afternoon. Did you know? Well, you should know by now. It's gone a number of years. November is World Vegan Month, and I'm really pleased to say hello to a woman I met many moons ago, and I actually visited her Eden Farmed Animal Sanctuary. She's now based just outside Kells, and she's the founder of Go Vegan World. Sandra Higgins, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Gerry. Thank you for having me.
Not at all. It's great to have you with us today. I suppose, Sandra, we understand the campaigns that go on, especially the Go Vegan World campaign, and you can see it, a fresh campaign, if you look at billboards, buses travelling by, shelters, etc., etc. Sandra, do you think the campaigns have an effect?
Yeah, I do, for sure. The number of vegans is definitely rising. And the campaign is unique in that it's giving information to the public that we regard as their right to know, information that the animal exploiting industries are trying to hide from us. So over the years, we've put a number of facts out there, and of course they've been very controversial, and the industry has complained about them and done their best to stop the ads. But very simple information, such that animal products are not necessary for human health. Animal agriculture is the largest contributor to Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions. And most importantly of all, Gerry, what our ads do is they're based on the animals at the sanctuary that we run are the inspiration for our ads, and they feature on almost all our ads. And what the ads do is they help the members of the public to make a connection between the animals they use and the animal products they buy, whether it's clothing or food, and the animals that those products were, in such a way that they can't but recognise that the animals share our capacity to feel. And because they have feelings, they share our fundamental rights, not to be used as objects or resources.
So you say they are sentient beings, they feel like we do, they fear like we do, and you really do criticise the fact that we look at them as unfeeling commodities.
We do. Yes, we do. We're encouraged not to think about them at all. You can see it in the current comments about the bird flu. People are laughing at the idea that a bird could get the flu and could suffer in the same way as a human who gets the flu. But absolutely, of course they could. When we use them, they are inevitably harmed by us and killed by us. And anybody who looks at the inside of a farm today or the inside of a slaughterhouse knows that what we're doing is wrong. And our ads have encouraged people to become aware and think about the injustice of animal use. And without a doubt, the number of vegans is rising. Especially among younger people.
Yes, and I'm sure you view this outbreak of the flu among poultry as a disaster, because you see what happens when this occurs as well. There's no choice but to end the lives of thousands upon thousands of birds as well. And do you relate that to the intensity of this, etc., and with a huge problem? Do you cite this as being something that is another reason why veganism should be considered?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the virus exists among wild birds the same as humans get the flu, but the reason that we're in such trouble with it at the moment is because of animal agriculture, because of so-called poultry farms. And again, when there's an outbreak like this, it gives people a little bit of an insight into how the animals are used by us. And anybody looking at the photographs of the birds being slaughtered, or even just how the birds are living on farms, can't but say it's very wrong. We wouldn't do it to a cat or dog or a horse or a donkey. We would say absolutely it's wrong if we did that to other humans. And other animals share our ability to value our lives. They suffer when we hurt them in the same way as humans do. So it's wrong to use them as commodities. And a lot of people think that veganism is a diet, but when I first started the sanctuary, Gerry, in 2008, I actually wasn't vegan. And a remarkable thing happened to me, because I started the sanctuary quite by accident. And we had a few sheep and 12 chickens. And then it grew, and I was working a little bit harder. And I noticed that I was feeling really happy. Life was very interesting, and I was going to bed at night feeling very contented, and I was sleeping very well. And as you know, I'm a psychologist. My role in life is to help people through the difficulties they're having. And I just thought, if I could bottle this and give it to my clients, what is it that I'm feeling? So as part of my continual professional development, I started to study positive psychology. And I found that through my work with the animals on the sanctuary, I was actually living a number of the factors that contribute to human well-being. So rather than just alleviate our problems or resolve some of the issues that are causing our personal problems, there are things that we can do to live life, to live the very best version of ourselves. And what I was experiencing was absolute joy working with the animals. A completely different world opened up for me. I was very grateful to have the opportunity to do it. I was completely engaged in my work, so hours and hours and hours could go by, and still do, where I'd forget the time because I was so engrossed in what I was doing. And I felt a sense of belonging, and I had a sense of meaning and purpose in my life, which I have to this day, and I can't say enough how grateful I am to the animals at Eden that I have that sense of meaning and purpose, that I get up every day knowing that there's something bigger than me in life.
So it's brought an awful lot, and I'm hearing what you're saying, but farming families would say the same, you know what I mean, that they get an awful lot from the lambs in springtime, cattle calving, looking after them, feeding them, you know what I'm saying. Does that differ from what you get?
It is different. It is, because they also They have the highest rate of workplace stress and accidents, including fatal accidents. And a lot of that stress comes from the fact that the animals are not feeling beings to them. In order to do the work they do, they have to cut off their feelings and treat them as commodities. They're just a way of making a profit. And every one of those animals goes to a slaughterhouse. If I was doing that, I would not be able to form the bond I do.
Okay, so we see the point. I understand the point you're making, but I know farming families would counter that. That's why I mentioned it to you, that they would, and that's what they would say. What about, you say what it's brought to you. Currently at your sanctuary there, are there opportunities for people who might be listening today to go and join you? Have you plenty of work for people if they'd like to experience it?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're hiring animal caregivers, and we're looking for volunteers at the moment. And if people go to EdenFarmedAnimalSanctuary.com, they can see the details of the kind of work we do, the jobs we're offering, and the application form is there. And I have to say, of all the things that I've done in my life, going vegan and working with the animals here on the sanctuary are the best things I've ever done. And I think you will hardly meet a vegan who won't say that to you. Going vegan is by far the best change I ever made in my life. And Sandra,
to be devil's advocate with you, look at what the beef industry, the poultry industry, etc., let's say the animal agriculture industry in Ireland, means in terms of economic figures to us, jobs, all that type of thing. How do you make the transition, to, let's say, a crop growing completely, tillage, crop growing, farming business, instead of what we do at the minute, a combination of both?
Well, there are a number of points there. I mean, if you look at the Teagasc National Farm Surveys, you'll find that farming in Ireland, farming globally, but farming in Ireland is not viable at all. It's completely propped up by taxpayers' money and subsidies. And a recent study actually by Marco Springman, and a lot of people will be familiar with Marco's name because he does some of the environmental programs on Irish television even. But between 18 and 56 million additional agricultural jobs will come from the transition to plant-based agriculture.
Okay. So
this myth is put out by the industry that it's bringing a lot of money into the country. It's not. And some of our ads at the moment, like 75% less emissions on a vegan diet in comparison to diets that only have 100 grams of animal flesh a day, which is actually very little. We ran that ad to coincide with the COP. And if we don't meet our emissions targets, and we will not meet our emissions targets, globally, even if we stopped using fossil fuel in the morning, the emissions for food are going to push us into catastrophic climate change. And it's just a small point, but we're going to be fined so much that we're going to lose huge amounts of money. Never mind talking about the money that animal agriculture brings in. But money won't solve this. We were almost flattened here last year with the storms. It's taken us the guts of a year to recover, and lots of people were the same around the country, and we'd no electricity for a week. It's miserable, but it's nothing in comparison to how terrorising it's going to be for us. It won't be compatible with life. It will not be compatible with life, and we have to change.
You paint a bleak picture and a worrying picture indeed. So you believe that this transition can happen, that jobs can be maintained, and that economically this transition is sustainable. But what about for our listeners today who say, look, I like a little bit of meat, or I like a little bit of chicken, or I like a little bit of this, and, I need it for protein, and, transitioning to plant-based, well, it just won't bring me what I need for good health. I need the protein, Sandra.
Well, this is a myth, and it's a myth perpetuated by the animal exploiting industries that a vegan diet is difficult. It's difficult to get all the nutrients you need. I mean, very recently, around in 2018, there was a study done by Trinity College, published in the British Journal of Nursing, that found that 1 in 8 Irish adults are short of B12. And in 2022, a sample of Irish teenagers were found, were deficient in vitamin, 67% deficient in calcium. Now, these weren't vegan people that they studied. These were non-vegans. So there are a couple of nutrients that vegans need to be careful about, but it's very easy to be careful about them. You just eat the foods that are high in the particular nutrients we need, and take a supplement if there's something that you're worried about. The science shows that you can get every nutrient you need for good health on a varied plant-based diet.
So that you counter and say, no, you can get what you need nutritionally, all you want, with some supplementation from the plant-based. Do you feel at times, just before we finish, it is Vegan Month, there is a focus on it, do you feel that you're a voice in the wilderness by times?
Well, look, even if I did feel that, that's irrelevant to my duty in life, both for human rights and for animal rights, to keep working. Yeah. But also, we look at the number of people communicating with us who see an ad, like the ad we're running at the moment with our sheep, Angel, who was rescued, a unique rescue of 10 animals from a slaughterhouse in 2019. And the ad says, she has one precious life, will your dinner take it? That was what happened to me when I went vegan. That I realised that even if I only had a small mouthful of meat, an entire animal had to lose their life, an animal who values their life in the same way that I value my life. And it's a really important thing to do, not to contribute to that. But also, I don't feel like a voice in the wilderness, because there are great activists out there now. There are great activists in Ireland. A couple of years ago, there were very few. Now there are lots. And there are lots more people going vegan than there used to be. Particularly the young people are becoming more aware of the moral obligation to be vegan. And if you're interested in, never mind animal rights, of course, the reason to be vegan is animal rights. But even if you're not concerned about animal rights and you don't know a lot about animal rights, if you are interested in human rights, you have a moral obligation to be vegan because of the effect of animal agriculture on the environment. The fact that eating animal products is not good for our health. We can be a lot healthier on a plant-based diet. And the fact that it just isn't sustainable, even if your interest is farming. The rights of farmers mean that we need to farm in a sustainable way, and farming animals is not sustainable.
Sandra, we hear you, and I know I mentioned the voice there, but your voice is an important voice. You know that always, and I have the greatest of respect for you, I have to say, and I always will. Eden Farmed Animal Sanctuary are looking for caregivers and volunteers. Check them out online. Thank you so much for being with me again today on the show, Sandra.
Thank you, Gerry.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.